part 18 of S3 service playlist. So in this video, we are going to learn what is object lambda. So let's start. So now let's talk about object lambda. With S3 object lambda, we can add our own code to S3 get head and list request to modify and process data as it is returned to an application. So whenever the data is in transit, we can add our own code to the S3 request using object lambda, and we can modify the data and we can get the data from the application. S3 object lambda uses AWS lambda function to automatically process the output of a standard S3 get head and list request. So object lambda uses AWS function to automatically process the output with just a few clicks. In AWS management console, we can configure a lambda function and we can attach it to a S3 object lambda access point. So whenever you create a lambda function, you have to create a lambda access point for it. So it is very easy to create a lambda function and we can attach that lambda function to a access point. So now let's see that how actually the lambda function works. So first of all, to use the lambda function, we have to create a lambda function. So we have to upload our code to AWS Lambda or use the Lambda code editor. So first of all, when we create a Lambda function, we have to give our own code which we want to do on our data. After creating the Lambda function, we have to create and configure S3 object Lambda access point. So we have to specify Lambda function to invoke and provide custom parameters here. After creating and configuring the Lambda access point, we have to then invoke Lambda on the S3 get head or list request. So we have to make a request to the S3 Lambda access point to invoke the Lambda. So after invoking the Lambda function, the Lambda function will process and transform our S3 objects. Lambda will process the objects on the get head or list request to meet the need of our application. So whatever code we have given into a Lambda function will be invoked and the data will be processed and transformed into it. After processing and transforming the data is returned to the application. Processed data is returned to the application without the need to store a copy into it. So first of all, we have to create a lambda function, then we have to configure the lambda access point, then we have to invoke the lambda function and the data will be processed and transformed. So this is how lambda function works. So this is the short introduction about lambda function. So that's it for the video. Meeting you in the next video.